Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. My co-host, Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, is not here today. I am Trudy Leong, administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest today is George Roumbanis. He is the president of AFSCME 3506, and he is also an educator. Welcome, George.
Hi, Trudy. How are you?
Very well. Okay, let's first of all, what kind of teacher are you, and how did you come to be president of AFSCME 3506? And of course, tell us what AFSCME 3506 is all about.
Well, first of all, I'm really proud to represent some of the best teachers in Chicagoland. We primarily teach adults, immigrants, Americans who need a second chance. They were not able to complete their education, their high school here or abroad. Folks who want to start a career, they want to get a training in the career, they want to move on to college, they're looking for a vocation, whether that's nursing or cooking. So we serve a wide swath of the tens of thousands of students that attend the City College of Chicago.
In other words, you serve those students who are very hard workers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think I'm really proud to support and represent our teachers because they have to learn from our students how to be really effective and how to work really hard. And I think we've learned over the years how to do that.
So, but how did you come to be president of AFSCME 3506?
Well, I think like a lot of immigrants, I took some ESL classes at the basement of Truman College up in the north side. And then, I completed my education. I was working. I was given the opportunity to teach some classes at Arturo Velasquez Institute, part of Daly College in the South Side. And then, to be honest with you, after that, I never looked back. I saw the struggles that these very diverse, really highly skilled of professionals were going through. I first became a steward, and I was working with then our president, Mark Freeman. And at a certain point, he said, George, I can't be the president forever. We need new people to step up. And I was going to do it for a couple of years. And here I am 10 years or so later being the president of the unit. AFSCME is a fantastic union. I'm very proud to be an AFSCME president.
Do you know what Mark Freeman saw in you? What did you do that was so striking that he chose you of all the stewards to be a possible replacement to take over after he steps down?
That's a good question. I think I like to bring people together. I believe that when we work as a team, we can be very effective. And, I deeply believe that education is the basic infrastructure of public life. And I think that the city colleges administration, community colleges administration, and probably libraries are an essential of American democracy. And I think both politicians, public administrators, and unions, educators unions, owe to the community to improve this public infrastructure. The same way we build bridges to go from one part of the city to the other, the same way that we build expressways and trains so we can communicate and commute. The same way education, especially public education, especially community college education, does this for all of us, whether we are teachers, whether we are students, whether we are different communities, and definitely we can do much better.
So I'm a graduate of Wilbur Wright College, and my education at Wright College was so affected me so much throughout my later years. However, so we need to do more. You said. So what is more? What do we need? What do you and the educators need that is so essential?
So, if you take social studies, whether it's Wilbur Wright or Truman or Daley or Olive Harvey or Kennedy King or Harold Washington, you will learn about democracy. I think the city colleges and we, the members of the community, the representatives of the union, we also need to teach how real democracy takes place. We need to create democracy inside the city colleges, inside our community colleges, and in our communities.
Okay, so what is preventing this real democracy from being in place?
So, we have to give credit to the people who created the community colleges in Illinois and the city college system, right? This is an institution that has many venues for the faculty to express themselves, but only if they're credit. And if they're full-time and they're tenured. So faculty like the 350 almost folks I represent and the hundreds more that they're adjuncts, they're not, despite that we serve the absolute majority of students, we are not on the table to express our opinion, to give the perspective of our students. Our communities are not really represented. The mayors, whoever they might be, they appoint people to the board, but the people of Chicago, our communities, our workers, our teachers, our students don't have a voice who participates in the board. And therefore, this is a board that to some extent is limited about who they represent, how they represent, and what real impact they have with the administration.
So every college has its own board, and then the whole 7 of them have another board over them, right?
So the City College of Chicago have a board of trustees,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that each community college has an advisory board. So the decision makers, the people appointed by the mayor, are the board of trustees.
Got it.
And talking about the democratic process, I'm really proud that students are able to send a student trustee, and I have witnessed the administration. They do work with this trustee, and you see them participating and how they develop the skills to represent the students. Unfortunately, the biggest program of the city colleges is the adult education program, and our adult students get no representation. So I think that will make a big difference. We need adult education student representation.
So the adult education students, could they run for a student trustee?
No,
They're
no,
not allowed to?
unfortunately, no. This is something that we need to fix, I believe.
Wow. Why would they do that? Do you have any? Is there a rationale behind that?
Well, administration usually claims that this is about how the colleges are structured, right? Regarding regulations that come from the federal and maybe even the state government. But, ultimately, do you want a group of people to participate or not? If you want them to participate, if you want people to join you for dinner, you find a way to get them over, right? But if you don't, you can always find an excuse to keep them away.
So the actual board, and when the mayor appoints them, whom does he appoint? Is it people that are from within the community colleges, the city colleges? Who gets appointed?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So depending on the mayor, depending where the mayor is in his service of his term, you get different folks. A lot of them are folks who represent the banking sector, the nonprofit sector. So it is a mix of private corporations and nonprofit organizations, and I guess now and then some community representatives are there. But I wouldn't say that the people truly represent the wide gamut of who lives in Chicago and the people who need access to the city colleges and to the education, to the high quality education we offer. Our communities, I don't believe they're truly represented. I mean, after all, a political appointment is a political appointment.
So has an educator ever been appointed?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we had professional education administrators, retired college presidents. Our previous president of trustees was an outstanding scientist. I don't mean to put down the current leaders. He's fantastic as well. The question is, do they represent political relationships, or do they represent our communities? Do they represent our faculty? Do they represent our students? And I think by definition they don't. That's why all the Chicago City Colleges Alliance of Unions has been advocating and working through the legislative system to get an elected board of trustees. And that's where we're at. We hope the politicians in Springfield, they will do the right thing eventually, because we've been working for years and they're kind of turning a deaf ear to our demand.
Because let's say if someone is able to run, it would be people that have experience, that know what's going on, that know the needs, that would best represent the population of the educators and the students. The board appointees that you tell me about, their administrative side, they really don't understand what the students and the educators are going through.
I hear you. Now they do give me 2 minutes every month to speak to them. I'm not sure.
Public comment.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I can convey in 2 minutes. The other question I have is the following, right? The city of Chicago is a very diverse place. And I think it's a great loss that in the last decade or so, we have lost hundreds of thousands of African American families. This is the biggest number of people, the single biggest number of people who have left our city. I think that's a great loss of the city. But other people come here, or they've been here for a long time, and then they move to the suburbs, or they move out of the state. I think an open city colleges system that caters to everybody, that listens to every community, it will make a big difference in retaining our population. Now, my program, we support immigrants. That's a big part of what we do. And we want these immigrants to stay here, learn here, and prosper here. And democracy goes a long way together with transparency in doing so. People want to participate in open, transparent, accountable systems. And the city colleges, they can do much better.
So you say your program, do you mean your hope that there will be elections for the board?
We need that. Yeah, this is, I think, whoever is the next mayor, whether, Mayor Johnson is reelected or we have a new mayor, I hope that this becomes a priority.
Who would be the people, who would be the voters for for the board?
I think we need the community members, the everyday person who lives in the neighborhood around the city colleges. This should be able given the opportunity to vote. I think our students should be able to given the opportunity to vote. I think our teachers should be able to given the opportunity to vote. And I think as long as we have the community, the teachers, and the students participating in this process, will be the right way to go. Obviously, when you do legislation, you make hopefully productive compromises. But at the end of the day, the more we represent the people of Chicago, our diverse communities, with their rich heritage and what they bring in everyday life, the more successful we'll be.
Do you think it would be the elections would be something like the LSC elections for Chicago Public Schools?
I think that's a good model. I think that's a good model. It doesn't have to be identical, but I think it's difficult for me not to see how the LSC system is. I mean, I think this is something we need to replicate to an extent that is possible.
What about the other community colleges? Is Chicago unique in not having an elected board, or is that common across the country?
Yeah, this is difficult for me to discern. We haven't looked into it, but what is really clear is that, especially on the East Coast, the unions that represent the faculty and the workers that definitely have a lot more impact and participation than we have here, and where all the faculty's voice is heard. Here, the impact of the faculty is limited to the full-time credit faculty. But then, inside a college, teachers are not the only people who work there. Teachers are not the only people who contribute. Our engineers, our security, our office professionals, all these people are playing a tremendous role of how successful you're going to be as a student. And I would hope that a board will be able to reflect, or at least to productively listen to what all the union representatives bring to the table.
So AFSCME 3506, do they represent only the educators or the other ones that?
So we represent adult educators and coordinators.
So those other, like the behind the scenes, the other employees, they have their other unions.
They have other unions, yeah.
So when those are there any nearby, like maybe Lake County, any other nearby community college systems that do have an elected board?
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that.
Oh, that's okay. But when you do talk with the elected officials and you say that they practically ignore you, do you have a feeling, an understanding of why would they ignore you? Do they just want to keep those a couple of extra political appointments for themselves? What is it?
This is a very good question. I'm going to tell you what I believe the challenge for community colleges is overall. We serve tens of thousands of people, and we could be serving a lot more. It's just, I believe that we are too close to everyday Chicagoans, to everyday Americans. We're too close to working people. And I think one of the problems we have in our society is that very few politicians are prepared to listen to the voice of the everyday woman and man. And they get busy in the politics of managing things. And I think this is one of the issues. They don't understand, I think, what an important part of public infrastructure community colleges are. So just to give you an example, In the state of Illinois, we serve tens of thousands of students just in the adult education process. Yet that only represents 0.46%, not even half, less than half of a percent of the potential clients, if you wish, or students of our program. People, who need to use federal and state and city and county programs to improve their lives. Think about the digital change that are happening. AI. How will a society come together without everyday folks having access to this technology? What kind of separation is going to create if we leave a big part of the population behind? So I think it's the same problem we have with any public infrastructure. It seems to me that the people who govern have forgotten how infrastructure, especially educational infrastructure, is essential for our democracy, for our society, for the cohesion of our society. And, at the end, it's very different for a University of Illinois. And with their high prestigious degrees and their high prestigious graduates, as they should be, they do a great job to compete for space and for money with people who say, you know what, we're going to teach somebody how to use the computer. We're going to use our knowledge of teaching foreign languages so our immigrants can speak in English to their neighbors and access programs and benefits
and opportunities.
And opportunities, yeah. It's a very different conversation, and I think it's a difficult conversation for the administration as well. The fact that we don't have an elected board, I think, also prevents this communication and this accountable process. We as teachers, as a union that represents teachers, we're not only fighting for our livelihood, right? We're also fighting for the rights and the opportunities that our communities and our students owe to have, what is owed to them, and actually what our society needs to move forwards.
So you represent the full-time teachers or
No,
the adjuncts too?
I represent the adult education professionals, right? The adult education faculty and the coordinators.
Oh.
Yeah, so the credit side, they have their own union for the full-times and they have their own union for the adjuncts,
Oh my goodness.
who, by the way, teach more students, I think, than anybody else. And they've been fighting for 2 years, not to get a contract, just to even get a decent proposal, right? So they teach exactly the same classes with the full-time faculty. They have the same qualifications, and they get, a pittance really in comparison.
The adjuncts, you mean?
The adjuncts, yeah, they get a pittance, and I hope the City College of Chicago will do much better for my colleagues.
Well, what about the three unions? Do they speak together? Do they have meetings so that maybe all three of you, the unions, could have a stronger voice in getting the elected school board? And what about those two unions? Do they also want what you want, an elected board of trustees?
So we meet regularly. We have an organization which is called the Alliance of City College of Chicago Unions, right? So definitely we support each other, and you'll never agree 100%, but I think we're pretty much on the same page, especially about having an elected board of trustees.
If you did have an elected board, how do you think it would be different? How would they would understand the problems more, maybe listen more? How would it be different?
Well, so let me give you an example that comes to mind. In the last few years, the city colleges of Chicago have increased their credit enrollment by, I think, 7%, around 7-8%. But adult education has decreased by 3-4% approximately, right? I'm giving you roundabout numbers. I am also very concerned to what extent, especially our African American community, is not being served as well as it could be by the city colleges, especially in adult education, right? So it seems to me that some of the most fragile communities are not getting the kind of outreach and involvement in the city colleges that they could. And I believe a board of trustees that is from the community will focus with on the folks who have the highest need. And I think that will make a tremendous difference. I think it will just help the program to grow overall and to serve more Chicagoans than ever before.
Do you have any idea about how this would work? Does the board, there's just how many people on the board, and do if it were elected, would like one board member come from every one of the community colleges? Or
I think, and this is my personal opinion, right? We don't have a position as a union on this, but I think when we look at the issues we're facing, to have every community, or if we're to split the city colleges, the city of Chicago in different districts, to have representation from every part of Chicago is one of the most important things. You just, voting at large usually dilutes the folks who need the most help.
Oh, how is that?
Well, because what you get is you have large voter groups, right?
I think I understand.
Yeah. So versus the smaller groups may not have as much representation, and being able to have a more local representation. So I'll tell you one of the concerns I have. Years ago, I used to teach in what we call the Chinatown area, and when I look at their enrollment of students from Chinatown, that has diminished. We don't offer many services, and we have an increased immigrant population in Rogers Park from Asia, and also our Asian population throughout the city is increasing, and I don't see these increases transferring in enrollment, and I'm really disappointed. It may be that the Asian population is not the biggest group, but we can be doing a lot better. And not only for the Asian population. Chicago is a very diverse community, right? Everybody should have a place, should be able to call the City College of Chicago a place where they can go and access resources and opportunity and learning.
Yeah, maybe it's on account of the political situation. It's really hard to tell. However, you did mention that some people might not get represented, especially the most fragile, and then fragile portions of the population. And usually it's those fragile parts of the population that don't understand the importance of their vote, and they don't vote. And that's that in the end hurts them.
Absolutely. I'm very proud of the citizenship program that we have as part of our adult education program. And it makes a big difference, not only because it helps people to get their citizenship, but to understand how important participation is in democracy. Democracy is a participatory sport.
So since I have you here, the adult education program in the city colleges, over these couple of years, has it stayed the same? Has it expanded? Has it shrunk?
It has shrunk.
And what reason do they give for cutting some programs or cutting some classes?
I think having a president who has focused negatively on our immigrant population has not helped. But I also think that this is an administration that could be doing a lot better in reaching out to our communities that need the services that the adult education program.
You mean the City of Chicago administration?
The City Colleges administration.
I got it.
Yeah.
If our viewers want to learn more about AFSCME 3506 and the wonderful work that you do, where should they go?
they should go on the web and go to AFSCME3506.org.
And the spell AFSCME for us.
AFSCME.
Okay, thank you so much, George Roumbanis, president of the AFSCME 3506 and also an educator. Thank you so much for joining us on Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. From Bill Morton and me, Trudy Leong, we thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next week.